All right, I'm continue to get some really great questions from this group I just spoke to, so I wanted to jump in. One of the things that we were talking about was burnout, and this follow-up question is in relation to that, but to kind of foundationalize some background, burnout in healthcare is an extreme problem. It's a high burnout industry, and then pharmacy sits in a high burnout profession among highly burned out professionals on the multidisciplinary teams we work on. Physicians and nurses are also very burnout, pharmacy technicians, pharmacists, and then pharmacy itself being a high burnout career at a high burnout time. Definitely experiencing a lot of unprecedented things, and I really do feel that you need to have a solid strategy and a conscious strategy in place to actively combat that type of feeling and to recognize when you are in a burnout situation. The questions were geared towards what do I recommend to combat burnout? And then also, I had brought up, I take care of myself. I try to use being a pharmacist, turn that in on myself and look at, if I am treating myself like I would hope I would treat one of my patients that was confronting some of these issues, what would I tell them? What would I recommend? And I remember in our conversation, I had mentioned a few things, and that's where this question is coming in is, what are those nutritional factors that I do try to add into my day and my diet to keep me on track? And I do really feel that lifestyle and nutrition are such key components of our health in addition to everything else that we do. So I specifically do really try to make time for working out. I don't feel like working out often, but I still do. And I feel like that's where we were talking about discipline is more important than motivation. Motivation is fleeting and you might not ever feel motivated, but having those disciplined routines that really kick you into a high productive area can be really helpful. So exercise is deeply important. I also talked about kind of my journey to get off soda, and it's really hard to not drink soda, but there's just such compelling evidence for how it can really create just such health issues. I won't go necessarily into the science here. I can do a follow-up video if that's of interest for people. But I got on a really clean pre-workout instead. So I am in a lifestyle where I don't drink coffee and was using soda as a main caffeine source. It got me through residency. I felt like needed that neurostimulant effect because I felt like I was competing too with everyone that, of course, highly caffeinated industry we're in as well. But I just would always feel like I would hit a wall, and I'd always feel like I didn't have motivation. I would always feel I don't know. It's hard to explain necessarily, but I didn't feel like I had enough energy, and I almost had this insatiable, like, trying to supplement my lack of energy with soda. I mean, it was definitely intense. I remember being on call shifts and really, trying to be awake enough to safely care for patients and just feeling like I was never hitting that mental cognition that I wanted to be able to serve my patient population. So the pre-workout that I use, I'll link below just so you have exactly what I use, but it's this one called Alani Nu. And what I really like about it is it doesn't have kind of the pre-workout junk that's kind of scary, where pre-workouts have actually been removed from the market a lot of times because of certain ingredients. So I got one that I do feel really comfortable with, and then the caffeine content makes sense for me, and I don't find myself bottoming out like I would on soda. So those two things in concert have been really helpful for me, and wanted to make sure I shared that tip more directly with this group.